You might have heard of famous Italian foods such as spaghetti bolognese and creamy carbonara, and maybe even the crowd favorite, a delicious multi-layered lasagna. But when Roman cuisine comes to mind, I'm sure you don't think of a pantry full of peacocks, or even an absurdly long fillet of a giraffe neck. For the ancient Romans, these cuisines and delicacies were just part of the weekly shopping list. What other weird and wonderful foods graced the tables of our Roman ancestors? And would these foods make you salivate or scream? Let's find out today with Newfound History. The first unlikely critter on the list was ostrich. Sourced from lands far from Rome itself, its huge stature and exotic nature made for an exciting centerpiece on the tables of wealthy Romans with connections to the gladiator animal trade. Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, better known as Elagabalus, famously enjoyed serving ostrich to entertain his guests. Notably, he would often purchase just the head of the bird, only to eat the brain. In other cases, ostrich would be boiled or turned into stew, with other Romans at the time preferring ostrich eggs for their immense size and regarded to have a superior taste over the meat. Amazingly, the huge birds were captured and transported alive from the plains of Africa via the long trade routes back to Rome and auctioned off to the highest bidder. Shortly before the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey in 49 BCE, the Roman people loved eating snails. Many village people would gather the common variety and fry it up with home-cooked meals to add a little extra texture and protein to their dinners. Fluvius Hirpinus has been credited as the first person in ancient Rome to make snails a popular culinary sensation. By keeping live snails in enclosures filled with a small amount of milk, he found after 3 to 4 days the little snails would absorb so much milk that they would not be able to retreat into their shells, and at this point, now plump from their dairy bath, they were ready to cook, supposedly tasting their best once fried in olive oil, seasoned with herbs, and paired with a sweet wine. The ancient Romans didn't have any ketchup, though they did enjoy a good condiment. A crowd favorite was garum, an incredibly popular fish sauce at the time, made from stuffing a jar full of fish intestines and salt and stirring every few days for 3 to 4 months, until the salt eventually breaks down the fish parts into a thick mixture. The garum was then separated into liquid and paste components. The liquid sauce was sold as top-grade garum, excellent for drizzling over salads or adding flavor to stocks. Due to its inflated price, it was usually found exclusively at the tables of the wealthy, with many Romans enjoying garum so much that they would drink it straight from the glass. Once the premium garum was extracted from the mixture, the paste was rebranded as alec, a far more affordable variant but often considered less desirable due to its thick consistency and goopy nature. Although seen as second-rate and often only consumed by the villagers and peasants, it still helped flavor many everyday staple dishes of porridge, chickpea cakes, and bread. Hearing that sterile sow's womb is on the menu could be enough to flip the appetite of the hungriest person. On the other hand, ancient Romans had a common place for this, especially on the farmer's table. To keep paddocks from becoming overcrowded, livestock would be spayed. In the process, nothing would go to waste. The removed womb would then be transported from stable to table and transformed into a nutritious meal. Sow's womb was notably used in the Apicius cookbook of 900 AD and said to be perfectly prepared in pepper, celery seed, dry mint, laser root, honey, vinegar, and bone broth for a delicious, soft meat stew. Other accounts note that some Roman chefs would prepare the womb in a coating of bran and herbs and shallow fry in olive oil to create a pleasing, crunchy texture. The end result would almost fit the description of a modern-day pork schnitzel or pork nugget. Meat in ancient Rome could be hard to come by if you were not a farmer with livestock or a member of the Roman elite. If you weren't affiliated with those groups, you might have had difficulty obtaining the protein-rich food source. Although one luxurious meat stands out from the rest as a rarity for even the most wealthy of Romans. Sourced from deep within southern Asia, it is none none other than the harlequin-colored peacock. The exotic bird was said to be in the top tier of all meats, giving it a culinary status higher than rabbit, chicken, pork, and surprisingly, lobster. Aside from being an awe-inspiring roast, the prized birds were also kept as pets and were considered a strong status symbol when seen grazing the gardens of the wealthy. Emperor Aulus Vitellius famously dined on a peacock and pheasant brain dish called the Shield of Minerva, said to have been tossed together with the livers of pike, tongues of flamingo, and entrails of lamprey. In ancient Rome, animal sacrifice of sheep, pig, and ox were common means to appease divination, ask the gods for good health and fertility, and thought to purify the land for better farming prospects. Depending on whether the sacrifice was intended to offer the butchered animal parts to the ocean or burn the offal as divine offerings, in most cases there was always a large amount of blood. This blood was collected and turned into a blood pudding mixed with egg yolks, nuts, and spices, and filled into an intestine which could be purchased at the local market as a blood pudding sausage. Although references to blood pudding have been made in Turkish and other European literature as far back as 800 BC, the Romans have the oldest detailed recipe for the humble sausage, dated to be as old as the 4th century. As unpalatable as it may seem to some people, black pudding was a great source of zinc and iron for the early Romans. The pudding delivered a massive 12 milligrams of iron per 100 gram serving of sausage. In 46 BC, Julius Caesar was responsible for bringing the first giraffe to Rome. Being confused with its leopard spots and camel-like legs, the Romans first called this magnificent creature camel leopard. Unfortunately for the poor giraffe, it wasn't long until it made its way onto dinner tables as well. The earliest known evidence of giraffe being served as food was found inside Porta Stabia, in the remains of a small restaurant frozen in time after being engulfed in liquid hot magma from the Mount Vesuvius eruption in 79 AD. An archaeological examination discovered butchered giraffe bones lodged in the sink drain within the preserved restaurant. How giraffe came to be on the menu of a seemingly typical Pompeian restaurant is still up for debate. Without any other evidence, the way the meat was prepared and served may remain a mystery for many years to come. Another popular ingredient found in the Roman Apicius cookbook was lamb's brains. One unique recipe containing the ingredient was patina de rosis, which translates to baked brains and roses. Prepared by beating eggs, rose water, and the lamb's brain into a paste and baked with a garnish of rose petals, the end result was a fine savory slice that would be served as a meal or as an appetizer for guests at functions. Lamb's brains were also used as mincemeat to stuff sausages and commonly added to stews. Being such a versatile protein, they could be added to all sorts of dishes or simply fried on their own. Can you think of any other weird and wonderful foods from ancient times? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching this episode of Newfound History.